What's up, people? So I just decided to just do this little tier list kind of thing of ranking all the kind of movies that I have seen, last year in 2023. Just kind of give like little points as to why I either like them, dislike them, or just I guess it was just pretty mid at best. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight to it. All right, first I'm gonna go into this category right here where it says movies I would have liked to see in theaters. So one of them would have been Asteroid City. At least to give a reason. I like how it visually looked, like pretty vibrant and bright and all things like that. The Killer would be another one. I can't really say exactly why, but there's just like, it was for some reason a little spark of interest. Like, the Bikers would have been another one, I guess. Same thing with The Killer, I don't know, just kind of got like a little spark of interest in it for whatever reason that may be. Poor Things would have been another one. I kind of like the whole like random, like I guess approach they kind of went with this, at least from what I got from like seeing trailers and stuff. Gran Turismo. Apparently I heard that this came out on Netflix, so honestly I'll definitely have a watch of this because this also was another one that like definitely caught some sort of interest in. And the last one would have been Spider-Man, 100%, because like I had seen little like videos of like the actual visuals in it, and it looked absolutely beautiful. It really did. All right, now that we got those out of the way, let's get into the actual movies that I've watched. All right, so first on the list is Oppenheimer. I don't think this is gonna be a surprise to literally anyone. Yeah, that's a straight S tier for me. Absolutely love the acting, like how intense a lot of the scenes were and all things like that, especially the interrogation scenes. That was like just a really all-around tense kind of movie. Alright, next is House of Mansion. So this one was based on a remake from the original, and I mean, I've never seen the original, and honestly, this one, it was a pretty generic movie. I mean, there were a little bit of comedic bits that I kind of chuckled at. I don't know. I think overall it was just an average movie. I just did not like it that much, so I'm just going to comfortably put it at a C. Alright, up next is Fast X. Seriously, why are these still being made? Seriously, there's no reason for this. Literally, the movie pretty much felt like any of like the previous titles, just super crazy, over-the-top things that honestly, just like, it's not even that enjoyable anymore. I mean, how many of these have, just been out? The only thing I'll give this movie was the actual villain. The villain was super like goofy but funny at the same time. So I mean, that was the only thing I really liked about this. I'm just gonna put out a D because again, the villain's the only reason why I found at least some enjoyment in this. All right, we have our first surprising movie for me here, and that is Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I don't really know much about the lore of this whatsoever. I only know like the basic components of like how the game is. Honestly, no, this was generally a surprising kind of movie. I'm not gonna lie to you, The story was super basic, and really, there are definitely some things that I would have personally at least liked to be shown in this, but, due to the rating of PG-13, some of those things couldn't be, accomplished. I'll put it at a B. It was pretty decent. There are other things that could have been probably better, but I will say, though, it's probably more like on like the lower B, almost like to a C, so yeah, a B, but like on a lower end. Alright, perfect. John Wick 4. As you can expect, this has a lot of the things that we've come to know and love about John Wick 4 as a whole. And again, realistically, this series, I love how just like from each kind of movie, there was, more kind of like different additions to it that kind of made, each film almost like its own thing in a way, Like you still got, the constant fighting and all things like that. As it goes on, there's other elements that are being added to the actual story, which I can appreciate for sure. The ending was just so peaceful. It felt so peaceful that it's like he eventually just gave in and just like, it just felt so peaceful. I don't think there's any doubt or any surprise at least for this. I'm 100% putting this in S tier. Beautiful movie. Alright, next is The Equalizer 3. I don't necessarily know how to feel with this one or exactly what they would do with this. And there's still the typical kind of fighting scenes that you come to recognize with this. But I will say it kind of felt toned back in a way. Specific kind of dialogues that I feel like just kind of like the overall essence of certain scenes really did feel that way. That it's like he just wanted to try and find peace and just relax and stuff. So I'd probably give this, I'll give it a B as well. Alright, another banger here. We got Killers of the Flower Moon. This one was a really interesting movie. I can't lie to you. It was super interesting, especially a lot of the sequences that were happening as well. Kind of crazy how far people are willing to do any sort of things for the sake of money. It's kind of crazy. in a very gruesome manner, to say the least. Although I will say, even though I don't necessarily care about like how long the movie is, as long as you're willing to really put forth the effort to have this kind of a film have this length, definitely could have maybe cut back at least some amount of minutes, because at some point I already understood the whole premise, the idea that was going on. Still, overall, it's an S tier. It's 100% an S tier. But yeah, that's generally the one thing I will say. Ooh, this one's also another good one. Have Air. Really enjoyed this movie, and just like the overall essence of having all these different kinds of shoe companies. You got Nike, you got also I think Adidas as well. Just kind of going at it and really just trying to get Michael Jordan to sign one of these shoes and have a contract or deal, whatever it may be. I love also the different, character dynamics that were specifically part of Nike. Really, the kind of dedication that these people had into doing anything possible to get Michael Jordan to sign for one of their companies for the shoes and make a shoe for him and all things like that. I think I'm gonna put this at an A tier. I loved it, but I personally, at least for like the top two like contender, like Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, like those kind of stuff during history, I personally like to look at those stuff more. Either way, Air is still very solid. And now we get into one of our other kind of disappointing movies, being Meg 2. I mean, just to kind of like summarize at least some points from my reviews, the plot, I appreciated the plot attempt, but honestly, there was nothing, no kind of meat to these kind of plots that really answered some of the basic questions that I at least said in my review. If it wasn't for at least the more, like crazy sequences between, characters and the actual megalodon, and the other creatures as well, I definitely would have given this at least more of a lower rating. It's not like to say it's the worst movie I've seen in 2023, but I'm just gonna comfortably put it at a C. Alright, up next is Strays. I was actually surprised with this film that I actually managed to like it. I'm not gonna necessarily say it's considered like classic comedy movies like down the line years later, looking back at it like, oh, this is great. No, not necessarily, because the comedy was definitely hit or miss. I definitely did chuckle more, I would say, but still, it was pretty hit or miss. I mean, I don't know. I didn't mind this movie. I won't lie. I didn't mind this movie. So I'm gonna, I'll put it at a B. But again, it's like on the lower side of the B, just escaping a C. All right, next is The Creator. This one was fairly interesting too. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did like a lot of like the different kinds of like the dynamic between humans as well as the actual robots. They don't like each other and all things like that. So yeah, I'm probably gonna put this at a B as well. I also like some of like the actual like different kinds of robots that were also part of it that kind of made some things like more interesting. All right. Up next is Cocaine Bear. Now this movie was pretty goofy. They didn't take it in like a serious route that much. It was more of like in a comedic kind of spotlight. But even though it's based on a true story, but still, it's I found it decently funny. A bear on literal fucking cocaine. I mean, that somehow got my interest enough to watch this. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be another B tier for sure. All right, next is Sound of Freedom. Just to put it simple, this movie was definitely, I would say, a good eye-opener kind of movie, pretty much to shine light on the trafficking of children. I'll definitely put this at an A. Alright, next. Ooh, this one was like, honestly, this for me was a super underrated movie, and it's The Covenant. I barely hear anyone talk about this film. Like, this is my underrated movie for 2023. Like, I have barely heard anybody really talk about this film. I love seeing the dynamic duo, a lot of the aspects during the war of Afghanistan. I will say, I will definitely give this an A. Really all around solid movie. If you guys have not seen it, seriously go watch it. Alright, we have this again, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I mean, this was a film that I didn't necessarily like. Although I will say, looking back at it, I think there were other sequences that I didn't necessarily, I guess, appreciate more, because they do tie back to at least, the kind of Indiana Jones films and certain sequences that I expect. And they were there, but either way, it doesn't really bump up the film that much for me to like, I guess, I don't know, let's say watch it again or anything like that. So, I think in my tier list I did for this, I put it at a D. Honestly, I think I'm gonna bump it up to a C. Because again, I think there's certain things that I think I didn't necessarily appreciate more, that I actually had a fair enjoyment with it. Not a great film by any means, but also not entirely garbage. Alright, so this is another like super surprising film for me. That is Ferrari. Really surprising, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm not super into cars or anything like that. I definitely have some issues with it, no doubt about it. Like certain hiccups, but the kind of hiccups that you see didn't necessarily ruin the movie for me that much. I mean, I still enjoyed it all around. I love the overall feeling of it, and you know, the way that they depicted as well Enzo. It's, yeah, I would put it at a solid B, like an uppercut, like a B plus. All right, next we have Megan. It was an alright. I kind of wish they really went more, or at least they did better with like at least certain sequences that they try to make Megan, at least when Megan was starting to go, I guess like not function as, you know, the people that made her, you know, was meant to act. And when she got more crazy, I wish she got at least the scenes when she got more crazy, at least done better, or even made it even more scarier and things like that. That was like probably like my biggest issue with the film. I'll put it at a C. Alright, Super Mario Bros. I did not expect the story for this to be, you know, super in-depth, not at all. But honestly, either way, this is just a nice movie to just chill back and just look at a lot of the fucking references from pretty much one of the most beloved video game characters from our childhood. And yeah, I don't care. I'm putting this at an S. Had a great time through from beginning to end. Alright, Migration. Yeah, this is Illumination's current film that they release. It was okay. Nothing special. Just an average movie. Had some fair laughs, but pretty average. Listen, yeah, C tier. That's C tier all day. Alright, next is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. At first, I actually did like this movie a lot. Then kind of looking back at it, there were definitely certain sequences that honestly, yeah, they could have been handled much better. They could have created new kind of like sequences, at least when it comes to the characters, because Ilsa's death, I would have loved to have seen the dynamic duo between Ilsa and Grace. But yeah, that's a high B for me. So I mean, yeah, it kind of pains me a little bit because I enjoyed the series. Alright, up next is Elemental. Honestly, like I said in my review, this is the most conflicted I've ever felt about a Pixar film to begin with. There are really things that I liked about it, then there's other things like pretty important kind of like details when it comes to making a movie. And really, it just felt kind of flat for me. The story itself, I just generally think they really missed an opportunity to kind of show more of like the actual elements, and I would say their abilities that they can do. Yeah, I'm putting this as well in a C. Alright, next is Transformers and the Rise of Beasts, something like that. Yeah, no, that's another C. I'm not even gonna like really talk much. I mean, pretty simple story. It was fine. Nothing really interesting. I did like the other kind of, you know, Transformers as well. Just a solid round, average movie. And here comes one of the most disappointing films for this year, at least to me, being Napoleon. This was right here like my most second anticipated film for the year. I really wanted this movie to be good. I really did. I like history from time to time. I like to at least, you know, especially if I hear a movie about this, I like to just go and do research on a character because I want to understand to at least a basic degree and really just get invested. This film was not that. It just wasn't. Okay, I'm gonna put out a C. I like the sequences. It should have been just structured better. And lastly, we have Wonka. This is also another surprising film to me. There's certain things in this that I feel like, you know, it kind of fits along to some degree with a Wonka film. There's definitely some elements that they kind of really missed an opportunity to really just showcase and still be kind of true to that original Wonka, at least that depiction of Wonka. Some things could have been done better, but yeah, I don't know. It's not a B, or the lower B as well. But yeah, that's basically been my recap and ranking all the films that I have seen in 2023. Yeah, some were bangers, some were really solid, some were really surprising and still, you know, on the more solid side of things. Yeah, and then others was just either disappointing and just like, yeah, especially in the D option. We don't need more of that shit, please. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to look out for the reviews that'll be coming up soon. Anyways, later.